we had covered what is DNS and its architecture and the components, and I also shown you the DNS resolution process. Before we started the DNS, I had also covered how the things had worked using the host.txt. And then we came to know the drawbacks. After that, we have a solution in the form of TN. Right? So that is how we covered this series. Now, we're going to discuss few important technical topics in this part 2, which are hosted zones, and we're going to cover the records or types of records. Then we'll try to see TTL, transfer time to view. So we'll cover these topics one by one. Then after I'll show you practically. I'll set up one server with the IP address, public IP address. And in this server, I'll install a web server software like Apache or Nginx. I'll deploy my website. Now, if you want to access from your device, if you want to access this website, you need to remember this IP address. But will it address? No. Right? So you need to reach this IP address and you need to connect with this service. So in order to do this, what you'll do, you simply remember the domain name provided to you. So you simply type the domain name. Now, your system is asking the DNS. So when you type the domain name, in order to access this server IP address or to reach the service, you'll type the domain name. So in the background, this request, your system is asking the DNS, where the 4 servers comes into the picture to resolve this to get to the respective IP address. Now, again, your computer will make a request to this server in order to access this service. So I will show this practically, how to set up this DNS and how it is working. I'll show you practically as well. So let's start with these 3 important technical topics. Now, as I told you, whenever we are asking for any website, the internet is waiting for the proper IP address, a proper location for the particular server. So here, the DNS is helping us to get these location details of your website in the form of IP address. So in this DNS, as I told you, we have the 4 important servers which are acting, starting with recursive, resolver, and then we have the root DNS servers, and then we have the TLD servers, top level domain servers. Finally, we have the authoritative name servers. So before I'm going to talk about the hosted zone, let's see this scenario. Now, our computer will ask this recursive resolver first. Where is this website details? That resolver will take our request to the root DNS. Now, the root DNS, it don't actually storing, it don't have the actual location, but it is redirecting to the respective TLD servers. Because let's say we are searching for LeoAxis.com. As I told you, if you are searching for LeoAxis.com, right, this recursive resolver will talk to the root DNS, asking for where is the LeoAxis.com. The root DNS will say that I don't know where is the LeoAxis.com, but I know where is the TLD servers for .com. So again, our recursive resolver is talking to the TLD server. Now the TLD server is saying that, okay, my dear recursive resolver, right, let me check in my database whether this name is available or not. It will check its database whether this LeoAxis.com name is available or not. If it is available, it will also check what are the name servers of the respective authoritative name servers. Okay, it will also showing this information of this authoritative name servers. So these details it is giving to this recursive resolver. Now taking this name server details, again it is making a call to the authoritative name servers. So it is a final server of this DNS system where the information is stored. Now to store this information of the domain name, here we are using a hosted zone. Now to store this information of the particular domain, here we are using a hosted zone. Okay. So hosted zone means it is basically a container. It is acting like a container. It means in the authoritative name servers, what I'm doing, I'm creating a hosted zone first. What do you mean by hosted zone? It is like a container. It is like a folder to store the data, right? To store the information. It is a container or the folder to store all the DNS information of a particular domain. Right? Now, this hosted zone is represented with your domain name. I'm creating a hosted zone with your domain name. Like I've created this hosted zone with this domain name. Call it as LeoAxis.com. And it is also represented with the name servers. It is represented with this name servers. Right? So these name server details are updated in this TLD. Okay. Right? That is what I'm trying to say. Now, these are hosted zone like a container folder. I'm calling this hosted with the domain name and it is represented with this name servers. Okay. Name server means it is a respective location of this respective hosted zone. In this hosted zone, what we are doing, we are storing the information of our particular domain. How we are storing the information? We store the information of the domain name in the form of records. We store the information in the form of records. Example, we created a hosted zone and that name I'm calling it as LeoAxis.com. Okay. Now in this LeoAxis.com hosted zone, I'm creating a record. I'm creating a record type A, mapping this domain name LeoAxis.com to the respective IP address of my server. So whenever the recursive resolver is asking this authoritative name server, okay, whenever the recursive resolver asking the authoritative name server, what is the LeoAxis.com, then this name server is taken to this hosted zone and searching for these records, this information. So now it will see this domain name, okay, LeoAxis.com is pointing to this respective IP address of the server. These details it is providing to the recursive resolver. Now this resolver is helping us with these details, right? We are getting the IP address like this. Now using that IP address, we are initiating a request once again. That internet will take the request to the particular server for the internet, right? So here the hosted zone means it is a container to store the information. So that information is known as records. It means we are storing the information in the form of records. Okay. So here we have the types of records again. Okay. Here we are storing the information, and here we have the many types of, because we're not showing you only a particular information. Here we are not going to store only a particular or a single format of information. Right. So that is where we have the types of records. So now we'll try to understand this hosted zone types and the records types. First, we'll try to see what is this hosted zone types. Now you came to know what is a hosted zone. So inside the authoritative name server, we'll create a hosted zone. Right? It is a container to store the information in the form of records. So this hosted zone is of two types. So one is a public hosted zone and one is a private hosted zone. Public hosted zone means this hosted zone, this container can be accessed from the public internet. It means in the authoritative name servers, what are the hosted zone that you have created? If the recursive resolver or the internet, if it want to query for the domain name, it can easily connect this authoritative name server hosted zone, because we created this hosted in the public domain so that the internet, the public internet can be accessed to this hosted zone. Right? This hosted zone can be accessed from the public internet. It means anyone on the internet can ask this hosted zone for the records, for the information. That is what the public hosted zone. Now, what do we mean by this private hosted zone? If you are creating this hosted zone only for the private network, only for your office network, let's say I created a hosted zone with the records information of the website of the domain name, but this hosted zone can be accessed only from the particular network, not from the public network, not from the internet, only from the particular network. If anyone trying to ask for the information only from this particular network, it is allowing to access this hosted zone and to find this records information. So that is what the private hosted zone. It means it can accessible only within the private network. What is a public hosted zone? It means it is accessible across the public internet. It means anyone on the internet can query these records. Right? Now, what do you mean by these records? It is the information that is stored in the hosted zone. It is the information that is stored inside this hosted zone. Okay, it is like entries inside the hosted zone to map the domain name to its respective resources. It is mapping the domain name to the resources. So here we are using the types of records. We are the record types. Example, we are the record type here. So we are using record type here. So when to use a record type here? The purpose of this record type here is if you want to map the domain name to its respective IPv4 address of a server. If you're mapping a domain name to the IPv4 address of a particular server, then use a record type here if you want to store this information. Right? And for server, the identity we are using is IP address. It might be in the version 4 or version 6. If you want to store the information for version 4, we are using record type A. But if you want to map the domain name with the IPv6 address, we are using quadrant A. Quadrant A means 4 years. If you are using 4 years as a record type means you are mapping the domain name, right? We are mapping the domain name or we are representing the domain name to its IPv6 address of a server. It means for every record type, there is a purpose. Okay. Now, if you are using the CNAME, there is something called CNAME. CNAME purpose is like mapping the domain name with other domain name, right? Mapping the domain name with another domain name. What do you mean by this? Let me tell you. Example, if anyone searching for blog.leoaxis.com, if anyone searching for this website, but it has to redirect to www.leoaxis.com. Okay, it has to redirect to www.leoaxis.com. So that is where I'm doing that. The domain name blog.leoaxis.com has to map to www.leoaxis.com. So if anyone searching for this domain name, immediately this information will go to the DNS. Okay, the DNS first the recursive resolver will try to check this information. What do you mean by blog leoaxis.com details? It will go to the root. Okay, from root again it will go to the TLD for a particular server. From TLD again it logs the. Okay, it will go to the respective name servers where the records are stored in the authoritative name servers. Now it will check these records. Okay, CNAME. Okay, there is a CNAME record is there for this respective domain name. Okay, it is pointing to the www.leoaxis.com. Now these details, again the recursive resolver will take these details, it will send it to your website and it will redirect to this particular domain. So like this for the mailing purpose, we are using the MX for the mail server routing, right? We are using the MX record type for the mail server routing, right? For that, we have the TXT for the arbitrary text, information. Okay, for the verification, for the SPF, for the DKIM, we are using the TXT. MX for the mail server routing. It is for the arbitrary text info. Like there is sometimes we need to create the SPF record type or DKIM or verification purpose. We used to create these record types for our domain name. So we use the particular record type in order to map the domain names to its resources. Right? So it means we are the authoritative name servers here, like GoDaddy. You can use authoritative name servers like GoDaddy or Hostinger, okay, or Cloudflare, or even in the cloud, like AWS cloud, we have something called Route 53. Okay, Route 53. So they are the examples of the authoritative name servers. So in the authoritative name servers, you can create a hosted zone. Whenever you are creating a hosted zone, immediately the name servers are assigned to your hosted zone. Immediately these name servers are assigned to this hosted zone. Now these name server details are updated in the TLD database of the particular domain. If it is a LeoAxis.com, okay, for the LeoAxis.com, it will update saying the LeoAxis.com, these are the name server details. So these name server details, it is given to the recursive resolver, which is helping the recursive resolver to connect to this name servers whenever it wants this information, right? So automatically every host zone, it will get its NS records, name server records, this information, which tell the internet where the authoritative DNS servers are available for your respective domain. So once it is reaching these, okay, respective name servers, now it will try to check these records where the details are actually stored. That is how it is working in the background. Let me show you this in practically. Then after I'll tell you what do you mean by TTL. So here, if you observe, I have created a server in this AWS cloud. Let me show you a server which I have created in this AWS cloud. So in this server, right, this is a server which I created. So with 1 GB RAM, with 1 CPU capacity, okay, and particular storage, I selected the respective resources and I created server. And if you see these details, there is an IP address, see public IP address. If anyone want to connect to this server, they need to remember this IP address. Now in this server, what I have done, I installed one web server software like Apache web server software. In that software, in a particular location, in a particular folder, I deployed my website files. Now, if anyone want to access this respective server or respective website, they need to send the request over this IP address. It means you need to remember this IP address if you want to access the website which is running inside this server, right? So just select this IP address, open this IP address in a browser. Right? This is IP address details. If you open this IP address in a browser, now you are sending a request. So you are sending a request to this server at port number 80 at protocol HTTP, right? At port number 80 and protocol HTTP. Okay. So if you want to see this, let me show you. If I open an online whiteboard for you. So if you see this details, if you see this request format, so what it contains. So this IP address or request contains IP address followed by port, okay, followed by protocol and its respective port number. You might say why the port number is not visible, because we know by seeing this protocol, by seeing these standards, we can understand that yes, we are communicating with this respective service which is running at the port number 80. If it is the HTTPS, we need to understand that we are communicating with the port number at the service which is running at the 443. Right now, if you want to access this website, you need to remember this IP address whenever you want to access this urban shop website, okay, which is developed by LeoAxis. If you want to access this website, you need to remember this IP address. But will it be possible to you to remember this IP address if you want to come to this shopping website? No. So that is where what I have done to attract my customers. I need to have some friendly name for feasibility. Okay. So that is where I came to GoDaddy. You can use the GoDaddy hosting, right? I came to GoDaddy. I created one account in the GoDaddy. Right. After logging into this account, okay. After logging into this account, I purchased one name. Okay, I purchased this saigoda.info. This is the domain name that I purchased. If you want to purchase, let's say if you want to purchase once again, just go to domain. You can, if you want to search for any other domain names for your website. Okay, let me show you how to purchase. Let me take you there. Just go to the dashboard. Once you log in, just go to the dashboard. So after you go to the dashboard, if you want any domain name, right, just search for a new name. Like search for the name like facebook.com. Can I purchase this name? Will it be possible to me to purchase this name? No, because already the Meta had taken this name for the Facebook. So I can't use this name, right? I can't purchase this name. I can't buy this name because already someone had taken this name. This domain is already taken. You can't use this domain name for your website. Okay. So that is where we need to purchase the domain name. So like that, I purchased the name for 1 year validity. Okay, that is where you can see my domains. So likewise, I purchase the domain name to my website. Okay, another domain, you can see I purchase this name. Now to this domain name, if you see this DNS, right, they are the DNS details, right? If you see this name servers, so by default, a hosted zone is created, a public hosted zone is created, and they are the details of this hosted zone. They are the name servers of this hosted zone, like a container details. So these details are updated in the TLD, which TLD .com .info TLD. The TLD which is maintaining this .info database, these details are updated in the .info TLD, these name server details. Right now, here I'm going to create the records. Right now, in this hosted zone, the DNS is a hosted zone, and the other details of this respect to hosted zone. These name servers are the details of this hosted zone. Now, here I'm going to create the records. Which record I'm going to create? Now, I'm going to create a record so that I want to map this domain name with this IP address. So it means I'm creating a record under the DNS record. I'm creating a new record saying that I want the record type here where I'm going to map this domain name. At the rate means it is indicating this domain name. Which domain name? Saigoda.info. I'm going to map this domain name to what is the value? The IP address. Which IP address? My public IP address of the server. Copy this, paste it here. I'll tell you what I mean by TTL after this. Okay, it is almost like half an hour. If you want to reduce, you can also reduce. So let it be half an hour. Right? Like 30 minutes. Okay. So like this, you need to update. Just say this record. So updating these DNS records. So it is done. Right? It had done now. So next time, whenever you want to access this website, you need not to remember this IP address. Simply type this domain name. Now next time, whenever you want to access this website, simply search for this domain name. See, the website is loaded using this domain name. So I hope it is clear. So instead of using the IP address, so from now, if you use this domain name in your browser, it will take you to this respective website. But currently here we are using HTTP. That is why it is saying that this website is not secure because we are using HTTP. So to make it HTTPS, we need to use the SSL certificate, right? We need to use the SSL TLS certificate to make it website more secure. So I hope till here it is clear to everyone. Now we're going to conclude this session with our final topic known as TTL. Stands for time to live. So actually it is talking about the duration, time duration before expiry, or it is a validation time before it is going to check next time. Right? It is acting like a timer. Saying that it is acting like a timer which is set on DNS records. Why we need to set this timer? So let's say now whenever you are searching for any website, our browser cache will store the data for a temporary period of time. Even the OS will store the data. The OS cache or the local DNS cache will store the data for a temporary period of time. Even if the data is not available here, it will ask the recursive resolver to the DNS. Now the resolver is asking the root. Again, it is asking the TLD, with respect to TLD. From TLD, it is asking this name servers or the authoritative name servers. Now it is getting the information from these authoritative name servers in the form of records. Here, along with the records, we are set up the timer, which is known as time to live. So, which is talking about the time duration or the validity. Now, what are the response or what are the details of the records that is given to the recursive resolver? It is also set up with a timer, like half an hour. In our case, we set up like half an hour. It means this recursive resolver is going to remember this IP address for this much time. Okay, it is going to remember this records details for so and so time period. Once the time is expired, again it is going to ask this authoritative name servers, right? Let's say I kept the timer as 300 seconds, which is equals to 5 minutes. Let's say I kept my TTL, I set my TTL as 300 seconds, which is equals to 5 minutes. It means our system remembers this IP address up to 5 minutes. Okay. So if you're asking for LeoAxis website, right, your system immediately will reach to the recursive resolver. Even the recursive resolver can remember this IP address details. So we're getting the response very fast. So within the 5 minutes time, if you're asking for this website, n number of times, you are getting a fast response because of this cache data, because the IP address details is stored in the cache for this respective time period. But after 5 minutes, again, if you're searching for the website, this recursive resolver, again, it will make a call to get this latest information. Right? Again, it asks the DNS again for this latest information. So that is how this TTL, this time to live, is helping us to store the information for a particular period of time. So with this, what happening? It is helping us for the faster website loading. That is one thing. Because it is no need to ask the DNS every time. It is no need to ask the DNS every time. The details here itself it is stored within the cache. Right? That is not putting a pressure on the DNS servers. It is not overloading the DNS servers every time to get this information for every query. Right? For every query, we are not loading the DNS servers every time to get this information. So that is where this TTL is helping us to reduce this overloading or burden on the DNS servers every time. And it is helping us to load the website very fastly. Because these IP address details are stored in the system for this TTL time period, for this respective duration. So that is where I told you TTL stands for it's a duration, how long it is going to store. So it's a timer set on the DNS records. So once the TTL duration is ending, okay, again our system will make a call to the DNS to get the details. That is how it is working in the background. Okay. So I hope it is clear to everyone. So with this, we may conclude our part 2 of this DNS series. I hope you enjoyed this session. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Right? So see you soon in the part 3 of the DNS series, which is the final part of this series. Thank you all. Take care. Have a great day. Bye.